Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome to the week 5 Ask Me Anything video. You have questions, I have answers. Don't know if they're the correct answers, obviously. But man, mostly what I like to do is just talk you through where you're at and maybe help you make the decisions that you need to make a little easier, or at least a little more thoughtfully. Some news going on right now, in case you hadn't heard. The early game tomorrow. Get your lineup set. The London game kicks off early. I think it's 8:30 Eastern time, so be ready for that. I should check that, right? Because I don't actually know that it's 8:30 Eastern. I think it might be 8:30 my time. No, it's 8:30. Yeah, so it's 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central time. Hey, Scott. Good to see you, man. We'll wait and get a few more people in here and get going. But the news from that game, the early game, is Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage are ruled out. Beyond that, in case you didn't hear, Russell Wilson had finger surgery. He's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks, it looks like, with his recovery. Gino Smith will fill in. Christian McCaffrey listed as doubtful for this game. He got back on the practice field, not going to make it onto the game field. Joe Mixon, the word was he was listed as questionable, didn't practice all week yesterday. He did get a workout in Saturday morning and is on track to play in what Tom Pelissero of NFL Network says is some capacity. Doesn't sound like full capacity. Maybe the same with Dalvin Cook, who did get on the practice field Friday, but didn't practice the previous 2 days. It wasn't great, right, heading up into that. So we'll see what happens there. Teddy Bridgewater, we're waiting word on clearance for him. He went through the concussion protocol. Should know something here soon, maybe even while we're doing this video, about his status. Jimmy Garoppolo ruled out. George Kittle is doubtful in that game. Trey Lance makes his first start. Justin Fields is the starter in Chicago going forward. No David Montgomery there. So we've kind of set the injury table for you. Dalton Schultz, Andrea wants to know, or Dallas Goedert. I mean, God, I'd be tempted to play the hot hand almost right now, right? I don't think, I think they're both in the same tier for us. Yeah, I'd probably be tempted to play. I'm tempted to play Schultz. It's just been going good, Andrea. I'd stick with the hot hand. The Giants, not a daunting matchup for Dallas, assuming there's no repeats of the ugliness last year. I don't even know why I said that. Speaking it into existence is never good. So yeah, I'd probably go Schultz. And there is not a wrong answer there. Who are they playing this week? Carolina, a little tougher defense there, right? So I don't know. We'll see. I still play Schultz. Hi, Kevin O'Brien. Full PPR, best flex, AJ Green, Christian Kirk, Brandon Cooks, or Latavius Murray. My feeling is it's Murray, but that's a Monday night game. What if they change it up again? I'm a little concerned about the Baltimore backfield. Maybe we'll talk about that more. I know Tyson Williams was inactive last week, and they gave the veterans a shot. It was basically Murray took the lead role and fared reasonably well. If I was sure that was going to be the case again, I'd play him. I do like him better than those other guys. If it wasn't him, might go AJ Green this week. Brandon Cooks against New England. I don't like rookie quarterbacks, especially not good rookie quarterbacks. No offense, Davis Mills, going against Bill Belichick. So I might avoid Brandon Cooks if I can this week. I mean, clearly he's the top of that food chain there. So there's something to be said for that alone. He's the only guy usually getting more than the 2 or 3 targets. And so I could make that case. But AJ Green's been targeted heavily, and it's been working out well, and it's a pretty good matchup. I think, for the Cardinals in this one. So I'd probably be tempted to go that way against a weak San Francisco secondary. Trade Justin Jefferson, a Wilson and Kamara for Aaron Jones, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Herbert. So is this Cannell? So help me out sometimes, people, when there's more than one Wilson. I mean, I know Jeff. I don't know. So I'm going to assume Russell Wilson, Justin Jefferson, and Alvin Kamara for Aaron Jones, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Herbert. It's a fair deal. Seems like you're just shuffling things around. Jefferson's more. I don't know. I'm not sure why either side would really want to do this. But if you want to shuffle the furniture and feel like it'll change things up, I mean, maybe a slight upgrade at quarterback with Russell. I mean, will they still trade Wilson, or is it a different Wilson? I don't know. If they'll still trade Russell Wilson, I'd trade him away. Or so confusing question. Apologies for spending that much time on it. Help me out, Escanel. Give me more context. Full PPR, best flex, Damian Williams or C. Patterson. Probably for me right now, I mean, I want the guy I know is going to have the certain workload. I'm not going to tell anyone not to play Cordero Patterson because it's been great and the workload has been solid. I think Damian Williams has a good workload, and I think the Bears need to do something to slow down the pass rush of the Raiders, and I think that thing will be running the football. What did Williams did? Like, basically put up, I think, about 10 points in half a game. I think I might go with him. But if you want the upside swing, the upside play, the swing for the fence play, it's clearly Patterson, right? The touchdowns have been phenomenal. So maybe it depends a little bit on what you need. And since it's the flex, Kevin, maybe you have that option to say, look at your opponent's roster. I do this a lot. Say, wow, this is a powerhouse, right? I'm going to need big production. Or maybe it's going to be a close game. I just need to avoid a 0, right? Maybe then I would go with Williams. So hope that helps out. Tom Brady or Jalen Hurts? Oh, man, don't you feel a rebound game coming for Brady and the Buccaneers, the passing attack? I'm probably slightly into Brady. Again, I think, I'm not saying Carolina's defense was exposed by Dallas because I don't know that it was, but the secondary is not as strong. I mean, without J.C. Horn. But the pass rush is ferocious. So maybe that actually plays into Hurts' favor. I'm still playing Tom Brady, though. But just talking it through, obviously both in our top 10. I think Hurts is 8, Brady is 6 on our rankings right now. So, I mean, I'd go Brady. Hurts is not a wrong answer, Scott. Andrea, need one flex. Allen Robinson, Jamison Crowder, or Hubbard PPR. I'd probably play Hubbard in this case, just knowing he's going to get the workload against Philadelphia. I'd be fine with that. I think we're taking our chances with Robinson until we see it. It just hasn't been good. Darnell Mooney seems to have Justin Fields' attention a little more at this point. Over the course of the season right now, Darnell Mooney has more targets, more catches, more yardage, more fantasy points than Allen Robinson. This hurts me because I'm a big Allen Robinson guy. I do like Jamison Crowder's matchup, but I'm probably going with the sure workload. Hi, Michael Berry. Kittle is out. Might as well be for all intents and purposes. Looking at Brate, Max Williams, or Mo Alley Cox. So maybe the timing of the kickoffs is going to be the issue here. Max Williams is a late afternoon kickoff. He's questionable. I don't mind him that much. I mean, the Cardinals have been spreading the ball around pretty nicely, and so it's not a crazy thing. He's probably the direction I'd want to go, but he's questionable. So you need a late afternoon kickoff. So I need to look at the kickoff times here and make sure you have a fallback plan. Tampa Bay, who else is late in that mix? Oh, Indianapolis, Monday night. Yeah, so I'd do that. I'd probably give it a shot to Max Williams. I just haven't seen much of Brate, to this point. It hasn't been impressive. So, the wide receivers are a little better there. I'd give Williams a shot if he's active, and if not, take my chances on Mo Alley Cox, who I know is healthy and going to play. So it's Russell Wilson, and you're trading away Cannell. I mean, if you could trade away Russell Wilson right now, trade him away. I mean, if you're trading for him, why? He's going to be out for up to 2 months. So, but if you can trade him, yes. And the rest of that deal seemed perfectly close enough. I would, so. Right now, unless they didn't know. And if so, do it fast. Jesse, need a 2 PPR. Antonio Brown, T. Higgins, OBJ, A. Robinson, or T. Boyd. Probably in a PPR, playing a Boyd a little ahead of Higgins in that one. Man, I just can't play Robinson yet. So I'm going to go with Antonio Brown. Even the third option in this offense is a pretty good option until we see it. Right? I'm totally invested in Robinson, have tons of shares. I just think right now it's really hard to, play that. So we always say, you drafted a guy to be something, play your studs. He's not your stud. That's not happening yet. So I think we're in week 5. You can kind of, put aside draft capital invested and things like that and play the guys that are playing well. And so for me, I'm going Antonio Brown. You can make an argument for Higgins, but since it's PPR, I'm going to give a slight lean to Boyd. And same with OBJ. I mean, if you haven't been watching the Browns games, Baker Mayfield's playing with a harness on his left shoulder. It's not his throwing shoulder, but he tore the labrum a little bit. He's having troubles with accuracy since. He says it's not the harness or not the injury. It seems like probably it is, right? I mean, objectively speaking. So that's a little bit of a concern for me, and that's probably what's going to make the difference for me. I do like all three wide receivers. The Packers got some issues with the secondary and their pass rush. Both Jair Alexander's probably not playing for a little while, so that'll work in the favor of all the receivers there. But Boyd a little over Higgins for me. For our best flex, D. Smith or E. Sanders. I'm going to guess Devontae Smith, and pretty sure that's Emmanuel Sanders, probably playing Devontae Smith. Just playing the depth chart here and anticipated opportunities. I know Carolina's tough, but maybe this week, without all their secondary put together just yet, they're still working on it, right? They've been making deals. Stephon Gilmore's coming there. C.J. Henderson deal. I don't know if any of those guys. Gilmore's obviously on PUP, so he's not ready yet, but I don't know if C.J. Henderson's going to be up to speed yet. So I'm going to probably go with Devontae Smith in this one. Gibson or Hubbard? Probably going to play Gibson. Watch the inactive. So Gibson has a stress fracture, he says, in his shin. They've been kind of managing it in practice a little bit. So, it's obviously a concern. Anytime someone's going into a lot of times this seems simple, but it's not, because we want to play the upside. But sometimes the best decision is the healthier guy, right? Technology. You can't live with it. You can't kill it. So there we have it. I am back. Sorry for that. Let's go back here to where I was. So, in case you missed it, the full PPR, best 2 or 3. I'm going with Thielen and Mike Evans. A.J. Brown is back and will play, but I'd like to see it before I buy into it. Remember, it hasn't been great week to week. There is no Julio Jones this week, so that maybe works a little bit in his favor. But still, those other 2 options are just fine with me. Jamal Williams or Laviska Shenault, probably playing Williams. Shenault, just in general, when I have a wide receiver, I know it's getting okay. It looks like I've frozen up again. So there I am back. All right. Sorry for the technical problems, people. I'm not sure what's going on today. I don't have a lot of control over it. I'm probably laying off, a wide receiver over a running back that's getting a good half of the workload every single game. And we have Anthony Lynn saying they want to get him more work. We'll see if they do. It's going to be the hot hand situation, right? So I'm still thinking though that offense is running through a narrow enough band. Williams, Swift, Hawkinson. Maybe Hawkinson is beat up, man. So. And Williams also is questionable, so watch for that. And if he's not going, be quick to pivot. Steve Atwood. Hey, Steve. Good to see you. Would I start Pitts or Knox in a PPR? Woo. So you've got 2 weapons down, and this is a slight lean to Pitts. 2 weapons down. There's no Russell Gage. There's no Calvin Ridley, more importantly. And so I'm probably going Pitts in this one. Knox has obviously come on, and it's a great matchup for the Bills. Both well inside my top 10. 8 for Knox, I think 5 or 6 for Pitts. So feel free. Going to go Pitts. I feel like at some point, you guys have been following the Falcons at all. It feels like Arthur Smith is, still working on unlocking the Rubik's Cube that is Kyle Pitts, right? He's a very creative guy, Arthur Smith. We've seen it with Cordero Patterson. He's really come up with good plans to use him. Talked to Mike Clay from ESPN a couple of weeks ago, and he had some interesting thoughts on this. Cordero Patterson, not a well-rounded running back type. He doesn't run well up the middle, but he does do runs, off the tackle and around the end and things like that really well. And he's not a well-rounded receiver. He only runs certain routes well. Well, Arthur Smith has figured out how to combine the things that he does well, and he's making the most out of them. At some point, I think he's going to do a similar thing with Pitts, and I'd hate to miss out on it. Either way, I think Pitts is going to be heavily targeted this week. Jeff Clark needs one. Hubbard, AJ Green, or OBJ. I'm going to play the feature back, or the closest thing to a feature back on that list, which is Hubbard. Can I take a minute and talk about both Detroit and Atlanta wide receivers this week, and if you think they're any are flex play? I don't. Right. So here's the problem. I mean, right now, Olamide Zaccheaus is your top wide receiver, right? I think they're going to come up with other ways. Maybe someone flashes and comes up. I don't know if that's anyone that I'd feel, really comfortable playing. I feel more comfortable with some of Detroit's depth, just because I'm more familiar. We see them more because they're playing a lot, but I don't know if Christian Blake or Tajay Sharp are guys I want to count on, even in a fortuitous situation for them, right? I mean, also the Jets pass rush looked pretty good last week, so maybe that's a bit of a hair splitter there too. As far as trying to figure out which of the Detroit receivers to play, it's a gamble week to week. It looks like Cephas is the lead player, but we've seen Raymond come up and kind of dominate touches as well. I think this week, hell, if it was Trinity Benson this week, I wouldn't be surprised. If it was Amon-Ra St. Brown at some point, I wouldn't be surprised. I think that's going to be the problem for me. So for me, none of them are reliable enough yet to be a flex play. If you see something maybe a little bit, you think Raymond has come on and kind of last week's game was a sign that he's established himself in the hierarchy, maybe he has. That would be, I mean, if you made me pick out of all these guys one, it would be Raymond or Zaccheaus. So, and Zaccheaus just by default, because I think he turns into the de facto wide receiver one just based on previous pecking orders. Christian Blake or Tajay Sharp up for the role? I don't know yet. So that's kind of where I'm at on them, Scott. Joey, need one wide receiver and one flex. Have Marvin Jones Jr., Tyler Boyd, Cortland Sutton, Laviska Shenault, or should I put C. Edmonds in if he plays at flex? I would like to play Edmonds if he plays at flex, but again, you have a wide range of good possibilities here. Tyler Boyd would be the one I would be most interested in. Since you already have Marvin Jones in, I could still play Shenault. Tennessee's secondary has not been powerhouse, right? So there's plenty of room there for everyone to excel. I don't know if this doesn't work in there. If DJ Chark's absence maybe works against Jones and Shenault a little bit in that he wasn't so dominant in the target share that he was killing them, but he was cleaning out some of the areas where they work, right, by going deep. So there's a little bit of a concern there for me, but not a huge concern. I'd still go Boyd. Sutton, I would love to play, but he has an ankle issue. He rolled his ankle in practice Friday, listed as questionable. My guess is he'll play, but I'm going kind of by what I said earlier. If I have two guys that I kind of value equally and one is healthy and one is not, I'd probably go with the one who is, and Tyler Boyd works for me. And Edmonds, man, I think you're taking your chances. And yes, Peter, it was frozen, but now it's not. We'll work through these things. It's technology. It's hateful. No, it's not. Technology is our friend. Would I play Hubbard over Mixon if he plays? I probably would. Again, if you didn't hear the reporting this morning, Tom Pelissero on NFL Network said Joe Mixon didn't practice all week. We know he has a low ankle sprain. Original reporting was he is week to week. Turns out he's more closer. Well, Zach Taylor says he's more like day-to-day. He didn't practice all week, but he did get on the field this morning and do a workout. And enough so that Tom Pelissero of NFL Network says he will play in some capacity, only if the ankle doesn't respond poorly. So, like, if he gets up tomorrow and the ankle's swollen, he's not playing, right? So, I mean, maybe that decision will be made for you. I'd go Hubbard either way, though. It just seems a little dicey. That in some capacity is always worrisome. Maybe it's a great capacity. Maybe not. I know what Hubbard's role plans to be, right? So that's probably the direction I'd go there. Who do I start? Says Lima W. A-Rob 2. A-Rob, Hubbard, Sutton, Galladay, or Crowder. Well, probably Hubbard. And I'd be tempted to play Galladay in this one. Trayvon Diggs is a worry, right? Every time. I just think, Crowder's coming off a big game. Maybe he can keep that role going. It's a great matchup. I don't think, that's a crazy play. probably playing a little bit of the depth chart. And as much as I like Sutton, I just, going into the game with an ankle injury that he suffered Friday is a little worrisome. Hey, Joe. Thoughts on Josh Gordon, KC? Talk off the ledge. It's not 2013. So that's, my biggest concern for Josh Gordon is we're all still hoping he turns into 2013 Josh Gordon. That guy doesn't exist anymore. But that said, who has been impressive in that wide receiver 2 or the role, any spot on that receiving hierarchy not manned by Tyreek Hill? You don't know from week to week. It's almost like we were talking, Scott's question, which of these receivers, in Atlanta or Detroit do you like as a flex play? You could throw in Kansas City. Do I like any of them as a flex play? Not really. It hasn't been very reliable, right? 1 week it's going to be a Mecole Hardman week, maybe. 1 week maybe it's going to be a Demarcus Robinson, but Byron Pringle is going to have a week. I don't know. Maybe Josh Gordon can come in and normalize that a little bit. That would be like the best case scenario to me for Kansas City. But again, I would like to remind everybody, it is 2021. Josh Gordon was last super good in 2013. Since then, it has not been great. So keep it in perspective. I know you will, Joe. Kevin O'Brien, a half-point PPR, best flex. Antonio Gibson, Emmanuel Sanders, or T. Higgins. Antonio Gibson for me, as long as he's active. And I do think, again, I want to play the healthy guy if the options are equal. To me, the options aren't equal when you have the lead back in an offense going ahead of a wide receiver 3 in the pecking order, let's just say 2.5, 3 in Sanders' case, 2.5 to 3 for Higgins as well. So, and sorry for the freeze up, guys. I think we've got it kind of figured out now, or not figured out. I think the internet has decided to allow us to continue on. Thank you, internet. Lamar or Hurts? Lamar for me, Jesse. Look, he's running the ball well, as he always does. He's throwing the ball well, as he hasn't always done, right? Look, they haven't made a concerted effort to throw the ball. We heard all offseason the drumbeat. We're throwing the ball deeper. We're going to do more. They've been doing it. His numbers reflect that, and he's still the top rushing asset to me because the other guys are hard to rely on. Justin Fields or Ryan Tannehill? I'm probably playing Tannehill. Honestly, neither of these guys is getting great pass protection, right, at the moment. I think one of them is going up against the Raiders, though. So that's the tougher pass rush. That would be a concern for me, right? So, I think Justin Fields is going to be fine over the course of time. And I think he's got a lot of playmaking ability. For right now, I'm going to stick with the more proven asset. Neither of them have been high end to this point, though, right? So, if you have a hunch, Brian, play your hunch. I'm not as convicted on this as I'm just kind of trying to talk through the logic, and maybe my fears of the Raider pass rush are irrational or overblown, but the Bears' offensive line is horrible. So is Tennessee's. But at least in Tennessee, you've got the threat of a Derrick Henry. Not even average would like to know Daniel Jones or Trey Lance. I'm probably playing Daniel Jones. I have a Daniel Jones problem. I can't let him go. And he's been playing well, right? So, look, I think Lance, there's some upside there. I don't know if I want to play somebody in their first start, in season long. I will say, though, he did about 20 fantasy points in a half last week. He hit the big pass to Deebo Samuel. That's kind of comforting. He has the rushing ability. That's kind of comforting. So does Daniel Jones, though, right? So probably going to lean Daniel Jones in this one. I'm not talking anyone out of Lance. I think we have Lance ranked slightly ahead. Neither of them are ranked as wide as quarterback ones, right? So I think you're well within your rights. If you're like dying to play Trey Lance, play Trey Lance. I like him in like tournaments because he's cheap and there's upside. So in DFS tournaments, so maybe that should be the answer right there. Is that I kind of prefer him in as an upside play. So maybe that helps you out a little bit there. Daniel Jones has been playing really good. All right. Get off my Daniel Jones high horse. My friend Danny Dimes. Kevin O'Brien would like to know, full PPR best flex, Gibson or Damian Williams? In this case, I could make an argument for Damian Williams, right? Again, you look at he came in kind of cold and got 10 points and a half, 9 or 10 points and a half, I've got to think. Either way, he's going to get the bulk of the workload. and a team that's trying to keep the pass rush up. He's an asset in the passing game. With Damian. All right. Dynasty League, says Peter Ferrari. With some of your co-hosts, actually. Dynasty League. With some of my co-hosts, actually. But things are bleak with 3 of my 4 QBs out. Do I sell now or wait to move towards the trade deadline? Man, in Dynasty League, it's a little different story. I don't know who your 4 QBs are, or 3, who your 4th QB is. Is it a playable asset? I'd probably try to ride it out if I could. You're never getting value back on quarterbacks, right? You're never getting the good end of the deal when you're trading away or for quarterbacks. People are holding you up. They know you're in a bind. I'm guessing this is a very deep league since you have 4 quarterbacks. So I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. I would listen to offers and take care. But your league mates, especially if they're some of my co-hosts, are going to fleece you or try to fleece you or, get over on you on this deal. So if my 4th quarterback's playable, Peter, I might consider just riding it out. Iron Eddie, full PPR, sit 1, Jacoby, Corey Davis, Devontae Smith, AB. Wow. Probably sitting AB or Smith in this one. I might check my rankings just to make sure. Yeah, probably. It's so close on all these guys. Meyer is a bot. Maybe I can say, maybe we can go with a heavy rushing attack. The thing about Myers is he's been targeted so heavily. It hasn't been the premium bits you like, but it's been pretty solid. Probably going to sit. I'll go ahead and say I'm going to sit Jacoby. I think all these guys are eminently playable, though. It's a tough question, Iron Eddie. Sit Jacoby for me. Just because my hunch is we've seen the Patriots struggle to run, right? And they felt like they put too much on Mac Jones the last game. They want to run the ball more. McDaniels had talked about it, and they need to get the rushing attack right. And this seems like a matchup to get that done. Seems like a matchup they could kind of do what they want, though, to be honest with you. So I do like Myers an awful lot, just like the other guys a little better. Devonta Smith, yeah. Yep. I've talked myself into that. Jeff Clark, pick up Jamal Williams and drop Myles Gaskin. Yes. Like, I don't know what's going on with Myles Gaskin or, the rotation. So we had history with Myles Gaskin going back through last year. Anytime he was healthy and available, he was getting a feature role, right? He was getting the bulk of the workload. Nobody else was infringing on that to a degree that made you worried. That's changed this year. So Jamal Williams, is getting his solid half, and he's not without some upside. So I might well do that. I might try to find if I have 2 kickers or 2 tight ends or, something I can stream, I might be looking at that end. But, running backs get pretty valuable as the year wears on. That's my only concern, right? Like, so if I didn't have to drop Myles Gaskin, if I could hold him and still pick up Jamal Williams, then yes, would definitely do it. Would still think seriously about it, Jeff, this case. Full PPR, can I afford to wait for a 4 p.m. game and Chase Edmonds or roll with Chuba? Yeah, I'd roll with Chuba. I don't know. It doesn't look good for Edmonds to me. Maybe he's active and doesn't play a full role. Just 2 days of not practicing at all. Not even Thursday on the field, working on the side. Friday doesn't seem like a big practice. So I probably would not wait for that. Half point PPR. Let's see. I lost my head. Need 2: Higgins, Jacoby, Ruggs, Pittman Jr., or OBJ. I'm probably going with Higgins and Jacoby. Again, to kind of outline the reasons. Ruggs has been kind of hit or miss, right? I mean, the hits are great. Love it. Pittman has had big games and might well. I mean, maybe he's the smart play here in a half-point PPR. He's getting heavily targeted. I just wonder if these guys aren't going to try and keep it on the ground and keep that positive game script. That worked so well for them against Miami. I realize this is a different game. They might not be able to pull that off, but I think that's their desired approach. At least until Wentz gets fully healthy. I'll go with that. Kadarius Toney or Jamison Crowder. Probably going Crowder here. Would not Scott, if you're looking for an upside play. Anybody who saw Kadarius Toney, even brief bits last week, sees why the Giants drafted him. I mean, he is that start-stop freak, open field running weirdo that is going to be very hard to tackle. But Jamison Crowder seems to have a more integrated role in the offense to me right now. Need to drop one for a kicker this week, Rondale or Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore would be the one for me. Third to fourth option in a lesser offense. Set sound Malax. Okay, half-point PPR. Flex Chuba, Hubbard, Pittman, or Claypool. Yeah, I'm probably going Hubbard here again. Just, chasing the volume or anticipated volume. Better defense, special teams this week, Vikings or Raiders. For me, it's probably the Raiders going up against, look, everyone wants to pick on Detroit. They're not like a totally turnover-prone team. I just feel like the pass rush and a rookie quarterback is always something I want to try to leverage on my defensive matchup. So probably leaning towards the Raiders in this one. Hi, Cool JR, Cool RJ78. Glad to thank you for being a customer. We appreciate that. 4 championships over the last 15 years. I need some of that. Yes, you can trust Zeke, I think. So you have both of them, right? That's always hard. So I'm going to take Zeke at his word. He said all week long he's going to play. Sometimes these questionable designations come. There are teams that are really sticklers for following the process. If someone's limited at all, they'll get the questionable designation. Baltimore is notorious for this. Even guys that everyone knows are going to play, or often draw the questionable. I think that's the case with both Zeke and Amari Cooper. Something you got to watch, though, and you have plenty of options. So, to pivot to, I'm probably playing Zeke in this game. Love all those other options, though. More seriously. What question? I did not see it, Lark. McFlorg. Oh, let me roll back. Might have been when I was frozen, right? I didn't see it. I don't see a question. You can ask it again. I don't see a question from you, so sorry. Oh, there it is. Need some help. Pick 2, CEH, D Harris, Z Moss. Again, I think the Patriots are going to try and get their running game healed up against a defense that's really easy to run against, right? So I'm probably going CEH and Harris. Moss has a sweet matchup against Kansas. Out of Moss over Harris. CEH for sure, though. Even a tough matchup for him. Thank you for letting me know. Next time, if I missed your question, just retype it. I'll get to you. Joseph Lennox, 2 questions, please and thank you. Number 1, need 2 in a PPR, OBJ, Galladay, Miles Sanders, Renfro. Boy, I hate keep going back to the well. Sanders has been a hard play. Probably playing Galladay and Sanders in this one. It's hard to recommend playing Hunter Renfro as good as he's been, over lead back in an offense, even an offense that hasn't taken advantage of him. You hope at some point there's a course correction. If you don't think that's coming, you think Miles Sanders' usage is what is stuck where it's going to be, Renfro would be my second choice over OBJ right now. Just until I see Baker start throwing the ball well. There's not a lot of, I don't see a lot there. Add drop question. Would I drop Hines for McKissick with this Gibson injury? Sure. I think they're kind of similar plays. So, yes. Martin, Schneller, PPR flex spot, Robinson, Williams, or Latavius Murray. I'm probably going Javonte Williams. I wouldn't talk you out of Latavius Murray. Either of them over Robinson. Steve Linder, Wentz or Fields in a super flex. I'm tempted to give. So I think Wentz over the course of time is going to be okay. In this case, I'd probably give Fields a shot and hope he can get something done with his legs. Oh, Scott Kobe wants to know what are the thoughts on Gino Smith in Seattle passing game. I was pretty encouraged, in the brief bit we saw Thursday night. Looks like DK Metcalf won't suffer. I think it's going to be okay. Give him some preparation time. Will there be some bad plays like the interception we saw at the end of the game? Maybe so. But also there'll be some production. We saw that as well. Geno Smith's been around a long time, knows what he's doing. I feel pretty confident in the pieces around him to keep things going. And we don't know when Chris Carson's going to get back. Just hearing that this morning. So that's a concern. But, yeah, I think Geno Smith will be serviceable. He's not Russell Wilson, but he doesn't have to be. He just has to be Geno Smith that we saw for the portion of the game he was in last week. PPR, Harris or Swift? Swift. 513 rookie, standard roster, standard rest of season. Antonio Brown or Randall Cobb. Antonio Brown for me. Steve Linder, PPR flex, Antonio Gibson or Darnell Mooney. Playing Gibson here as long as he's healthy. mean, it's been good for Mooney, but it hasn't been, phenomenal, right? So that's a little bit of an issue. PPR, says Brian Baker, Edmonds, Gibson, or Pollard as a running back 2. Probably going Gibson there right now, assuming he's active and playing. We know he's got the stress fracture. He played through it last week. If what he's calling a stress fracture is the same injury he suffered last week, and it seems logical that it is, he played through it without, made a big play last week, despite that injury. He says the pain is manageable. Sounds like something just as much they're managing in practice to keep it from getting a lot worse. So I'm probably okay playing Gibson in this one. Mark Spafford, Amari Cooper, lesser targets. Is it sore ribs or lack of need with the improved defense? I think a little of both, maybe, right? He's got the hamstring now, too. So, I'm not ready to give up on Cooper or Lamb, right? There's going to be games where they throw the ball more, but clearly this is a run-first offense. Zeke's been doing great. Some of the other receiving assets there have stepped up. I'm looking at you, Dalton Schultz. So they've it's kind of been a rough slog. I still think, any starting receiver in a decent offense is a valuable commodity, and he's in a great offense. So just need to come around, and maybe as he gets healthier, that will be helpful. But not giving up on him for sure. Yes, I agree with that, Joe. Which 2? In the standard league, 513 rookie wants to know. McLaurin, Hollywood, A.J. Brown, Deontay Johnson. Great show as always. Thank you. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. By the way, in case you didn't know, we have a website. It's called Football Diehards. It's written right there on your YouTube thing. Go there. We have tons of content every week, tons of news and notes, complete rankings, multiple sets of rankings, get you through, including IDP rankings if you play the defensive side of the ball, as you should. Video content, tons of DFS articles from some really smart DFS players, Jamie Calandro, Justin Lanero, John Lobb, the scholar, with his DraftKings sheet of knowledge every week is great. I chip in a little bit. Gary Davenport chips in with his shadow nose, the shadow coverage piece. Very helpful. Brad Cruz, one of the top high-stakes players in the land, gives us a sit-start, a Thursday and a Saturday edition. Casey Joyner, the football scientist, does a full injury breakdown, sit-start-based injury breakdown. So check that out. That comes every Saturday. And then early in the week, as things get rolling, Joe Kalana does a quick injury review on Monday, then fills that out with a more complete injury review on Tuesday, plus his early waiver wire look. Evan Tarciano with the waiver wire wizard. Matthew Sharon comes up with the dollar store free agents, the cheap plays. So tons of content there throughout the week. And of course, Reginald James, if you're a commissioner, Reginald James column's great. I've been reading. It's very enjoyable read, just as is, whether you're a commissioner or not, but some really good sound advice there. Tons of stuff, including all the tools you need. DFS lineup optimizers. Use that thing. It's fantastic. Also, DFS ownership percentage is available as you head into your game to kind of help you differentiate and things like that. So tons of content, footballdiehards.com. Subscribe to it. Use the promo code DieHards and get a 15% discount. Also, subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm here at noon every week. We do other shows as well. Pre-game show, Wednesday night DFS show, John Lobb's cash game show. Line of Scrimmage is on Saturdays. Tonight it'll be on at 7 p.m. Eastern, I believe. So check everything out. Hit the like button here, damn it, if you like what you're hearing. Or if not, just pretend you do and hit the like button anyway. And subscribe and hit the notification bell. All right, so sorry about that, RJ, while I went off the rails. I prefer McLaurin for sure. Deontay Johnson seems like a safe play to me. I would probably go in that direction. Hurts or Cousins, playing Hurts. Love Cousins as well. I think they're both great plays this week. They're both in my DFS 3 and out column for that very reason. A lot of upside with both to me. But Hurts is the answer there. Martin Schneller, PPR, if Mixon is active, play him or D. Williams. I'm playing D. Williams either way, just because if he's active, I don't know how active. Again, if you didn't hear the report this morning, or if you didn't hear it and you want to hear it or you want to know more about it, go to footballdiehards.com. Did I mention there's a website? I have an update up based on the Tom Pelissero's reporting. The words he used was he will be available in some capacity if his ankle responds well to today's increased workload. And that means no swelling, etc. So something you'll have to watch right up through kickoff. I might just avoid it. I think Damian Williams is probably a better play. Kickers are not people, Iron Eddie. It's not true. You just made that up. But I'll play along. Folk, I'll play Koo. I'll play Suck Up. He's been money. Suck Up for me. Let me see what our rankings say. I don't pay that much attention to kickers because they're not actually people. Oh, wait. Maybe they are. Yeah, I'll go ahead and play Suck Up. Thank you. With Edmonds probably being out, do you think James Conner is a good start? I mean, I think he's a reasonable start anyway, Scott. I mean, just, the short yardage value he has, the touchdown equity is there. You're not playing him, I hope, as anything other than a flex level. Edmonds has been heavily targeted. I'm with you. I mean, I don't know that he's probably out, but I think I don't see him playing a full role. So I'd be fine dialing back on him if that was your desire. And then Connor, if you want to play Connor, this might be the week to play him. You might get a more robust role than usual, maybe a little something in the passing a game as well if Edmonds can't go. And again, I'm kind of with you. He's probably, if he's not out, he's probably not going to play a full workload. So I don't know if you guys are subscribers to the Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio channels or the NFL radio channels. If you are, you can hear me on both channels tonight with Mike Dempsey. 5 to 7 on the Fantasy channel. Dempsey and I will be on. Have Lawrence Jackson from NBC Sports Edge as our guest. We'll be going through all these kind of questions. We'll take your phone calls as well. Then from 8 to 11 on NFL Radio Channel 88, it'll be me and Dempsey. We'll have Matthew Friedman from Fade the Noise come on and talk to us. We'll also do, I think we have a game of the week. I don't know who's on it. We'll have a couple beat writers on. So tons of content there. You can also catch Football Diehards Monday and Thursday nights from 10 to midnight on the Fantasy Sports Channel. And you can catch me on Fantasy Dirt with Michael Fabiano once every other week or so. All right. Do you have more questions? I will take them. Otherwise, we're looking at it, just to run down the news again, because I think if you came in late, we have some issues at quarterback. Justin Fields, the starter going forward for the Chicago Bears. We have Jimmy Garoppolo ruled out with the calf injury. Trey Lance makes his first start. We're all excited to see that. I mean, I'm willing to play it. Had the question about it. Saw the upside last week. He's had a full week of preparation. Maybe they'll have a game plan in place for him. Cardinals should be a shootout, right? Arizona's offense is playing at a torrid pace, so we'll force the hand a little bit. So excited to see that. Teddy Bridgewater, we're waiting to hear if he's got final clearance on his concussion, but he's listed as questionable. Seems to be heading in the right direction. Just needs that independent neurologist to give him the thumbs up. Scott, Jared Cook or Juju or Lat Murray as the flex? Probably going Lat Murray for me. I think it's still a little risky. If you missed it earlier, I know you were here, Scott, but if anyone else missed it, I'm not sure we've seen the end of the changes in Baltimore's backfield. But for right now, it looks like Murray is the lead guy. It looked like Tyson Williams was until it was Murray, though, right? So, it's a little bit of a concern in the back of my mind. Right now, though, Murray kind of delivered in that last game, so maybe he gets another shot. I don't see Le'Veon Bell or Devonta Freeman making serious inroads into anybody's workload there. So as long as Murray's the lead guy, I'll take that. If it wasn't, I'd probably play Jared Cook over Juju. Sacrilege. Thoughts on rest of season? San Antonio Brown, Randall Cobb. I think I answered that one. I think. Did I roll back up? Maybe I missed that last time. But yes, Antonio Brown rest of the season for me. And thank you for listening on the Sirius. Jeff Clark flex. Barkley, Hubbard, or Fournette. Barkley for me. Seems to be rounded into shape, kids. Seems to be picking up the pace a little bit. The snap share, the workload, and some big plays are starting to come. So I'm going to play that. Fine playing the others too. They're all viable starting running backs, but Barkley has the upside to me. What's the injury that hurts the most this week for fantasy lineups? Well, yeah, I mean, Christian McCaffrey is hurting everyone every single week. I don't know if any of them are killing us. We've been able to adjust pretty well. Dalvin Cooks, is one like that, where I think the ones like Cook, Mixon, where you're going to be tempted to play them, you might not get the full workload. Those are always the hardest ones for me, right? Because you maybe don't have a better option. Maybe you don't have like someone sitting there, you're playing a low-end flex level guy instead of those guys, and maybe half of what they normally do is probably good enough, and you're worried you're going to get less than that. Those are the ones that are probably the worst. Yes, I do, Mark. I think Jamison Crowder's role is locked in. I think when Elijah Moore gets rolling, they're going to play him on the outside more, and Crowder will keep a slot role. At least people who cover the team on a daily basis have told me this as well. So that seems most likely. I need 2.5 points. I need 2. 1/2. You have to read, Peter. I have to read. I need 2. A half-point PPR. Corey Davis, Claypool, Patrick, Mooney, or Ayuk. Oh, you're breaking my heart by including Ayuk, a guy that I heavily invested in and hasn't come through yet. I think he will at some point, but it's not there yet. Corey Davis and Claypool are the 2 for me. I know Mooney's playing reasonably well. I mean, outperforming Allen Robinson is impressive, but just the overall numbers, I'm not sure that I need to get that in there, especially against such a ferocious pass rush. When you have options like Davis and Claypool, I think that's great. Talk to Jake Seeley about this kicker issue. He knows a little something. Do I think Gaskin will pick it up at any point, just a victim of being on the Dolphins? I think right now it's just a victim of being on the Dolphins. I think the concern for me is what I said earlier. Last year, it didn't matter, right? I mean, he was the guy. When he was healthy, he was in there, and no one was really cutting into his workload significantly enough to make an impact or to slow him down. And he was pretty productive. This year, that seems like it's shifted a little bit. So I think it's both of those things. He's a victim of being the Dolphins, but also they have some pieces around him. Hex wants to know, will Kyle Pitts finally do something this week, or should he play Dalton Schultz? I'm playing Pitts over Schultz, but they're both top 10 tight ends. So if you don't have a hunch or you don't feel good about Pitts, feel free to play Schultz. Who did I go after this week in waivers? I went after Damian Williams. I went after, who else? I went after Dalton Schultz. Not a lot of guys. I didn't have a lot of needs, and I was trying to look ahead to my next week, with the buys coming. And I still didn't make a lot of moves. So I think I'm in good shape for the first week of buys. And that's always a thing. If you're like me, I'm in 29 leagues where I have to set lineups and manage waivers. It's a big enterprise. And so I try to be a little bit proactive. So with the buys coming up, it's helpful, right? Look out a couple of weeks and see when you're going to have weeks where you're really hurting for help. If you don't have guys, and be proactive and getting some replacements for them, even if it's, lower end, get what's available before other people start showing up and jumping in on them. So that's always helpful for me. Scott, who were your waiver wire pickups this week? Who did you go after, young man? It's, some of these weeks, I feel like I like some of the players. I almost never want to pay for them, right? I am a notorious cheapskate. So in the league I went after Williams, though, I did pay a fair amount, and still think I lost out. I got to double check. I'm double checking right now to see who I landed. I think I got some defenses, of course. Look, Trey Lance was picked up in every league. I think he is worth going after. Damian Williams, I thought was the best running back to go after. Samaje Perine, I think I put a minimum bid on. But it was a minimum bid. I suppose Chris Evans is a guy you could go after too. If Kenneth Gainwell was available in your leagues, that seems reasonable enough. Crowder is a guy that if he's available was someone, Randall Cobb, I think people are going to chase after. I'm not against it, especially if you get him for the right price. Oh, and the Giants receivers, we'll see what happens when Shepard and Slayton are both back. But I think Kadarius Toney is going to keep his role, probably at the expense of Slayton. So those are some of the guys that are probably on the radar. Lost Russell Wilson. Who's the QB to pick up? Well, you could immediately pick up, Gino Smith, Andrea, and kind of at least have that base covered, the Seattle offensive base. I thought Smith looked reasonably good, so wouldn't be averse to playing him if I needed to, if I was in a bind. But see what else is on the waiver wire, and be willing. Check Trey Lance just in case. Probably not there, but just in case. Sam Darnold, probably not there, but just in case. And see who's out there, and take that chance. So who is the underachieving player you think will turn it around and be what we thought he was the rest of the season? So I still think Allen Robinson talent wins out in the end. So I'm still, I'm not dumping him in leagues where I have him. I think the turnaround is coming. Who else has not? Who else has really let me down? I saw some of the long-term investments, like I have, like Michael Carter, I'm starting to get encouraged. And so, I mean, he's been underachieving. I don't know that he needs to turn it around, though. It just needs to continue his progression. I think we're seeing that where he's getting the bulk of the workload. So he's a player I've been watching because I invested in him. Knowing it was going to take some time for him to come along. Philip Lindsay, I'm not so sure, but he's another guy I invested in for that same reason, like a second half of season play, and hoping he does well. In leagues where, I need to make roster moves, and he's certainly expendable. He was a free square player. We did the video on that earlier this year. But those are some guys. I mean, look, you could say Calvin Ridley is underachieving, and now he misses a game, and maybe if people are sour on him, maybe I might go out and try and target him in drafts, maybe, in trades. Same with A.J. Brown. Some of those underperforming commodities where the talent is still there. It's still pretty early in the season. I mean, I know if you're in a fantasy team and you're, 1-3 or 0-4 or something, it seems like it's just rolled on. So, and if there are people in your league that are in that spot, try and leverage that to your advantage, right? Try and play on their emotions and their fear at being in a hole, right? And take advantage of some of these guys that are maybe have a chance to turn around. So Scott Kobe always asking the right questions. Schultz and Kadarius Toney, Damian Williams, those were pretty much mine. I like Darnold. Daniel Jones, I think it's hard for me not to say Daniel Jones is the answer to every question. Who do you start at tailback? Daniel Jones. No. I like Daniel Jones. He's been playing extremely well. This matchup is, Dallas's defense has been not unreasonable. But, I mean, you look at the way Tannehill's been playing, I think you could make a pretty good case for Daniel Jones in this one. Don't have the updates, but I would be out there picking up Mark Spafford, Jeff Wilson as soon as I could. And just if you have room on your roster, stash him. And, Andrea, if you look at your quarterbacks before I'm done and let me know who they are, I'll help you sort them out. Throw me in a couple offers. Think John Gordon is more of a threat to KC's receivers than Kelsey. This is way better than the blitz. Thank you. No, I think Kelsey is always going to be the biggest threat to the KC wide receiver. He's got to catch in 114 straight games. I mean, he is consistently high-end and productive. So no, I don't think I don't think Gordon's a threat to anything except Gordon mostly. That's been the case the last 6 years. So I hope he does well. I love the thought of the Chiefs adding a player like this and trying to see if they can get some upside out of him, and especially with the shortcomings of the guys they have, not named Tyreek Hill at wide receiver. I'm hoping he comes on strong and gives us another viable play in this offense. So that's where I'm at on him. I'm not out there actively trying to acquire him, but I'm hoping he makes KC's offense better and he can be at least more consistent than the other pieces they have there. Cool. RJ78. I need to make some room on my bench for next week. Who should I drop? Sermon, Hubbard, Madison, or Jay Williams? Is that Jamal Williams? I think so. If you're not playing Hubbard this week, drop him this week because it sounds like we're close to getting McCaffrey back. So it won't be this week, obviously, but he did get back on the practice field. I think they're closing in on him. I agree with you, Scott Kobe. Daniel Jones is a great DFS play this week for sure. Thinks James Robinson, Urban Meyer is finally turning things around. That feels like a trick question. James Robinson portion does not seem like a trick question. And yes, I do think he's getting it dialed in. Look, there's something going on with Carlos Hyde. Showed up to the game last Thursday with an unexpected shoulder injury. I don't know. He wasn't on the injury report all week before that. He's on it this week, but he's practicing fully. So, maybe there's more to that story than we know. But for right now, James Robinson looks like, I'm playing him like the guy he was close to last year. Who would I play Daniel Jones over that I would normally play? I would consider him over Joe Burrow. I mean, I'm probably still playing Burrow. I would consider him over Matt Ryan, Ryan Tannehill, Taylor Heineke. I mean, all playable guys, right? But I just think, the rushing equity has been there. It's easy to overlook. He led that team in rushing 6 times last year, and he's done it a couple times this year. Granted, Saquon Barkley is coming on, and I don't think that Daniel Jones is going to continue to be the leading rusher on that team, but he's pretty damn good. Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, or Lance. Probably Darnold, Lance, and Jones in that order, but they're like, it's a tight bunch right there, right? So, those are the ones available? Ooh, Andrea. Boy, so can you get Geno Smith too? Get Geno Smith as a guy that's like your fallback plan, but I would get any of these guys for some upside, and if it was one of them, I'd get Lance. So here's the thing. Lance is, if he's succeeding, he's not giving that starting job back, right? Not. But he's got to succeed, and if he's not, he's going to give the job up. Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold aren't giving up their job. So if you're looking for that kind of more stable situation, I like Daniel Jones slightly better than Sam Darnold. All right, everybody. So there you have it, Andrew. I hope that helped you out. I would grab Gino and one of these, depending on how you want to play it out. If you want to take the risk, I don't know how big of a risk Trey Lance is. He's very inexperienced, but a lot of upside, and I think they'll figure it out how to game plan him up. So how much would I play for Geno Smith and Fab? I would not overpay, but if I was in a pinch, if I have Russell Wilson, I know it's going to be Geno Smith for a little while, and I need just a safe play, probably 10%. Deontay, Corey Davis, Laviska, and Chuba Hubbard. Laviska sits out for me. There you have it. Cats are great. Thank you for asking. Still getting used to the new house and the dog. It's been a process, but it's ongoing. There is incremental progress being made as the cats and the dog become more accustomed to one another. But still, it's like a dead-on fight when they end up in the same area. It's like a brawl. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Week 5. Here we go. Hope you all have a great week, and we'll be back next week at this very same time, noon Eastern time. Hope we've helped you work through some of the issues that you have. Again, not here to tell you what to do. Help you sort through your issues, man. To figure things out. Talk through them logically. Take out a little of the emotion, right? Because when, I do it when I'm playing on my team, I'm looking at things a little emotional. I made an investment in somebody. I have some value on them. I need to get past that and look at things more logically. I hope I can help you do that every week. One last question from Pedro. T.Y. Hilton on IR. Do I drop Juju when T.Y. is ready to play? Only if you have to. I would think over the course of the season, you're going to have more times playing Juju than you would T.Y. Hilton. That's just my guess. And I'm playing Debo in a PPR. And there we have it. I'm going to get out of here before you ask more questions and I have to stay longer. Go to the website, footballdiehards.com. All kinds of stuff going up. My injury video will be going up shortly after I finish this. Casey Joyner's injury report sit start, while Brad Cruz's sit start heading into the game. Drew Phelps' prop bet stuff's been great too. Check it all out, all the DFS content. Listen to Football Diehards on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio and on SiriusXM NFL Radio tonight from 8 to 11. See you then.